So we'll pass on to the properties of synapses. I'll go back. So when we say it is one-way conduction, what do I mean by one-way conduction? I think this you should be able to answer me. What do you mean by one-way conduction?
Unidirectional conduction.
How is this possible to have an unidirectional conduction?
Ma'am, in chemical synapse, neurotransmitter is present only in presynaptic region. Impulse get conducted from pre to postsynaptic region only, not vice
Okay.
versa.
So whom do we call as the synapse? What is this? This is my presynaptic neuron. This is my postsynaptic neuron. Fine. It is called to be unidirectional because the most of the synapses in our body are chemical synapses. Okay. It is that neurotransmitter is released from the pre, goes and binds to the receptor in one. Since we don't have receptors for this on this side, we don't have a backflow of information. So the first property of synapse that it is unidirectional, we can prove in this way. What is the second property? Second property is of synaptic delay. What is it? Synaptic delay. And we all know what is that synaptic delay? It may range from 0.3 milliseconds to 5 milliseconds. Okay. Now, what do I mean to say? So, synaptic delay is due to what? Due to the activities that are occurring at the synapse. Okay, fine. How about my third property, which is called as summation? So, what do I mean by summation? Let me tell you from this diagram. There are two types of summation. One is called as the temporal summation, and the other one is called as the spatial summation. How do I remember it? What am I supposed to do? How am I going to remember it? And how to understand which is a temporal summation and which is a spatial summation? We have to understand that summation means addition, that we already know that. If it is temporal summation, it means the same presynaptic neuron is going to fire at different intervals, at one time and another time and another time. So there may be a gap into the firing. And what is happening because of that? What do I get that? Why is it happening? I got an EPSP because of first impulse, then another EPSP because of second impulse, and the third EPSP because of the third impulse. So by the time I was responding to the first impulse, a second impulse was given. I responded to that. By the time I was about to finish the response to my second impulse, I got a third impulse. So what has happened is the responses are getting summated. Okay. This type of summation which is occurring is called as temporal summation. Coming to spatial summation. Spatial means space. Remember, as if in a space you have many presynaptic neurons. So spatial summation means one postsynaptic neuron is going to get fired at the same time, but by different presynaptic neurons. Am I clear to everyone here? What does this mean? That for spatial summation, you have to imagine, suppose there is one postsynaptic neuron, and on one postsynaptic neuron, I can have many presynaptic. Now, this is also one of the feature of synapses. Synapse is not always one-to-one communication. It can be many to one or one to many. Did you all get it? So synapses, if this is my one neuron, okay, it can give synapses to multiple other neurons. Okay, this is one of my neuron. With the head, I'm making it. So one neuron can have multiple outputs, or in other case, it can have multiple inputs also. It can be possible that my synapses, I may have multiple inputs to one neuron, or one neuron can give multiple outputs. Now, what is happening here is, so this is your post synaptic neuron, and these are your presynaptic neurons. When many of the presynaptic neurons, they fire at the same time. Okay, what type of summation here is? Here the summation is of the stimulus. There is summation of these impulses. Here there is summation of the responses. So we can say that temporal summation, what is happening is, same presynaptic neuron, but firing at different times. T temporal, time temporal. So T for temporal, T for time. So we can say that temporal summation is the summation of the responses which is occurring due to firing of action potentials from the same presynaptic neurons at different time intervals. In case of special summation, there can be multiple inputs at the same time to the postsynaptic neuron. So I may get a summation effect of the stimuli. So such type of summation are called as special summation. Okay. So we have finished this property, summation. What do we mean by summation? When we come for subminimal fringe and we come for occlusion, I may ask you to draw this diagram first. Okay. What do I mean by subminimal fringe? Okay. Let us take a hypothetical state that there is a neuron A, there is a neuron B. What is happening? This neuron A, this is neuron B. Neuron A actually is giving an input to X and giving an input to Y, another neuron. Then B is giving to Y as well as to Z. Okay. Now, this I can tell you, suppose one more example is, suppose now what is happening, let's take this example only, or maybe I'll take this picture. Here they have taken BC. You can take it as AB, whatever you want. B is supplying to X fiber and Y fiber. Okay. Once B is stimulated, when you stimulate B, you will get an EPSP. Now, what is this EPSP and IPSP? Do you know that?
Excitatory postsynaptic
Synaptic potential. Okay. So at the synapse, we have what you call as the electrical events occurring. So it can be of two types. It can be either EPSP or it can be of IPSP. When do we say EPSP? EPSP is when we have excitatory postsynaptic potential. What it means is, in a synapse, when the neurotransmitter is excitatory, it will cause the depolarization at the postsynaptic neuron. How it is happening in case of sensory motor neurons, here you see. So you got an information, this is actually an example of a stretch reflex which occurs in case of knee jerk. And what is this knee jerk? You have down to the patella, there is a tendon. When you tap it with a reflex hammer, the response that you get is an extension of the limb. The limb just goes up, extends up. Now, how is this happening? The whole thing happens through a reflex pathway. Here, when you tap, you actually stimulate the receptors which are present here, the muscle spindles. Once they get stimulated, they fire the impulse. Okay, so they are taking an information. This is actually a sensory information of stretch. When it goes and synapses over the motor neurons, which is going to the extensors. So it will cause the contraction of the extensors. In the meantime, they will also give fibers to interneuron which are inhibitory in nature, and they are going to cause the inhibition of the flexion. So if you want your knee to go up, you actually need the excitation of the extensor and inhibition of the flexors. So this is about the knee jerk. You may not need to remember, but this is the whole experimental setup that I need to tell you. Now, here we find two things. An excitation at this level where the flexor motor, the one extensor motor neurons, the motor neurons which are going to the extensor, that is your quadricep muscles, this is your hamstring muscle. So if you are sitting, you can feel up the top muscle of your thigh. It is called as quadricep muscle. And down to the thigh, the muscle which is there, it's called flexion. All of you, what you can do is just flex your knee, extend and flex your knee. You bring your knee up and knee down. So when you're bringing the knee up, you can feel the muscle at the thigh. There will be contraction. Okay. And when you're flexing it down, you'll find a contraction at the hamstring muscle. So extensor is your quadricep muscle. The response to this action of tapping the tendon should be extension of my knee. So in that case, I need an inhibition. Are you all there with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if there is a flexor here, I need to inhibit the flexor but excite my extensor. So how do I do that? So the same sensory input, this is bringing the stretch information. It is excitatory for extensor neuron and it is inhibitory for the flexor. How it is happening here? We have done the recording. What do I do? Okay, these are sensory neurons which are bringing from the muscle end. When they come, they go to the motor neuron, and to the motor neuron, what type of electrical activity is occurring is excitatory, and we call it as excitatory postsynaptic potential. Okay, so this probably is mediated by what type of neurotransmitters? Excitatory types of neurotransmitters. So glutamate is an excitatory type of neurotransmitter. How about this area? Here, when they have stimulated an interneuron, this interneuron was inhibitory. That means it is releasing neurotransmitters which are inhibitory in nature, whom we call as GABA or glycine. These are two different inhibitor neurotransmitters. So what happens to the polarity of these neurons? There will be a decrease in the polarity. It will go below the resting membrane potential. And such type of electrical activity where the potential goes below the resting membrane potential, we call it as inhibitory postsynaptic potential. Have I made it clear to you? What is EPSP and what is IPSP? Is it clear to all of you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So now I can take you to summation. So when I call that there is a summation of effect, I may actually calling about the electrical event summation. Okay, so the summation, if I'm talking of EPSP, you should also remember that the same can happen for IPSP also. So I can have a summation effect for IPSP. Suppose there was one impulse. Okay, I got a hyperpolarization. Then there was another impulse, I went for another hyperpolarization. Then there was another impulse, I went for like this. And so this is my IPSP. Got my point? So I can have a temporal summation for IPSP. I can have some special summation for IPSP and EPSP both. So there is this. Now, when I call off, when we are talking of subminimal fringe, what did I say here? Okay, let us go try to understand two properties. One is called as subliminal or subminimal fringe. Another is called as an occlusion. For that, you have to imagine this setup. This setup is where I have a neuron called B. I have another neuron as C. When these B presynaptic neuron gets firing action potential, it is actually, what is it doing? It is generating an EPSP at X and an EPSP to Y. When I do it for C, I can have an EPSP of Y and EPSP of Z. Okay. Now, what do they say is, suppose I have fired B and C together. Okay. So what will happen? The one, I'll have two EPSP. So the response over here will be 2 times more. If the response here was something like this, I may have a better response here. Okay. Now, what do I say about Z? Okay, when you had fired B plus C, you actually had fired, this firing is reaching the X. This is also reaching the Y as well as to the Z. But in Y, you are getting a response which is of higher effect. What about Z? You will get of only Z and X will be nearly, of lesser response because they are just getting a response because of this. So what do I say? That Z is in a subliminal fringe of Y. Or we can say here X is in a subliminal fringe of Y. Okay. So Y may be giving a response, but this also have got little excited. So they are in fringe, means they got excited, but they are not so excited enough to give rise to an action potential. So we call it as subminimal fringe. Did you get this, what I'm trying to say? This is called as subminimal or subliminal fringe effect, one or the same. Now occlusion. So for occlusion, let me just take you another screen. Now for occlusion, let me just tell you. Suppose I have a neuron which is supplying to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got my point? It is supplying to 5 different neurons. I have another neuron which is supplying probably to this, to the two postsynaptic neurons which are very similar for this and this, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the postsynaptic neuron for here is same for this also and for this also. Suppose I name this as fiber A and this as fiber B. If I stimulate fiber A, how many neurons will I be stimulating? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you agree that?
Yes.
If I
Yes,
stimulate
ma'am.
only B, I will be stimulating how many fibers? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 more. So what is my idea? If I say, suppose I say, okay, A plus B is equal to, I should have got 5 plus 5, which is 10. Okay. But this is not the story. A plus B is not firing of 10 neurons, rather it is 8 neurons. Can you tell me what it is? Why this has happened? Anybody?
Because two neurons are
Two neurons are
common for
sharing
both.
the, yes,
Same,
two
yeah.
neurons, two of these neurons are sharing the common input. Okay, they have from both of it. So what has happened? We say that these two neurons are occluded. That property is called as occlusion. Did you understand?
So their effect has to be counted just once.
Yeah,
Because
they
otherwise
have
it
to
will
be
double count.
counted as one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we cannot count them as 5. If it was a proper summation, we should have got 10, but we did not get. Why? Because two of the neurons were having the same input. So we say that these two neurons were occluded, or there was an occlusion of the firing. So you can see here, this can be occluded. If I say B plus C, I should have got AX plus Y, Y plus Z. Do you agree that? If I stimulate B,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll be stimulating X plus Y. If I stimulate C alone, I will be stimulating Y plus Z. But if I stimulate B plus C, I'm not stimulating these 4 different neurons. Rather,
X
I'm
plus Y
stimulating
plus Z.
X, Y plus Z. Okay, so Y is in an occlusion. Okay, so this is that property of occlusion. Did you understand summation, occlusion, subminimal fringe? Okay. Then comes convergence. Convergence, I have already told that I may be a single postsynaptic neuron and I may have many presynaptic neuron coming and giving me the impulse. So this is called as convergence. Divergence, I may be a single neuron and I may give to many other neurons. Okay, I have many of the postsynaptic neurons. So this is called as convergence. This is called as divergence. Agree? Okay. Now let us go to the another property called as fatigue. What do I mean by fatigue? We say synapses are the first site of fatigue. This is what is asked always. What about the synapses? So we say that, this is synapses are the first site of fatigue. Why? Why is that fatigue and what is the reason for fatigue? We are going to see it. Synapses are the first site of fatigue. It means we should know what is happening at the synapses. Okay, this is, I think you all know that. How hyperpolarization will come into play. Hyperpolarization can happen only in two ways. One is either I can have a chloride ion entry, either my neurotransmitter causes a chloride ion entry, or it causes an opening for the potassium ions, so that the potassium ion efflux is there. Got my point? Am I there with you? Am I making some sense? Am I
Yes,
not
ma'am.
jumping from one side to another? Because the slides have come. Now, okay, I don't have this summation, fatigue. So what does this fatigue means? Fatigue means that, how do I define fatigue in general term? Why do I say that synapse is the site of fatigue is because at the synapse, what are the things that are happening? Can anybody tell me?
The action potential reaches a terminal button. The vesicles
Okay,
get
so if I'm again, going to draw this, fine. Okay, so suppose I'm drawing a synapse. Yes, you said the action potential has to come in, the calcium has to get in. There should be, exocytosis of neurotransmitters. This neurotransmitters should go and bind to their receptors, and so there should be a miniature action potential. And this miniature action potential, once reaches the threshold, has to go for an action potential. Now, when I say that synapse is a site of fatigue, that means we give a stimulus. Here, we find a response as contraction. We gave another response, we found little better contraction. We kept on giving the response. What is happening now? What am I doing?
Ma'am, the action
The
potential is
response is getting
reduced.
slower, slower, slower. So that means there is something here which is, getting decreased. So what is that? That is called as depletion of neurotransmitters. As you are giving stimulus continuously, one after another, you're not giving the time for its reuptake, resynthesis, repacking, and then release. So there is depletion of neurotransmitters. One. Whenever there is an activity happening here, definitely there will be some metabolites accumulating here. Okay, you're not giving the time for these to get washed away. So there is accumulation of metabolites. Fine. Maybe this will become more acidic in nature, the pH over here changes, and so that is going to reduce the response out here. So there can be depletion of neurotransmitters, there can be accumulation of metabolites, or there can be exhaustion of the ATP which might be required. So resources are getting exhausted. If you give repeated stimulus, your resources are getting exhausted. So once they get exhausted, you go to a state of fatigue. One thing you should know, neurons never fatigue. This is by their property. They never fatigue. Please mark it. Neurons never fatigue. Synapses fatigue. Okay. We find that fatigue is the property of the synapse. Am I clear here? Yes.
Ma'am, but synapses fatigue can only be with respect to chemical synapse, right? Not with respect to
No, not with
ones.
electrical. No, it is only with chemical fatigue. Now there is something called as facilitation. How do I say that facilitation? When I stimulated, when I stimulate B and my intention is to, give fibers to X, give more impulses to X or whatever it is, I'm actually facilitating Y also. Right? Because, here it is showing direct one. Suppose I have more of my conduction towards this, or maybe I have a lesser minimal fibers coming here. What am I doing is what you had seen as a subminimal fringe. So suppose I stimulate B and C, I am fully giving, a more of action potentials will be generated from Y, but X is what? It's actually getting facilitated, or Z is getting facilitated when you stimulate both B and C. So this is an, intermixing with the property of subminimal fringe, but the property says that it gets facilitation. This is called as facilitation. Now, what is this inhibition? We'll go to inhibition first and then we'll come back to after discharge reverberation. Inhibition is one very important aspect of synapses. Now, what do I mean by inhibition? So all that we have seen is that there are electrical activities. This can be excitatory, and we say that postsynaptic potentials which are recorded in a synapse are either excitatory or inhibitory. Then comes the inhibition. Inhibition is that you are reducing the activities that are happening at the synapse. So let us just take a pen and try to draw it. Fine. What do I mean by postsynaptic? What do I mean by presynaptic? What do I mean by feedback? What do I mean by feed forward? I'll take you one by one. Okay. Come here. This is a postsynaptic neuron. This is a presynaptic neuron. Okay. Now, if I have a direct inhibition from any interneuron, as you have seen in the stretch reflex, that example is here. As you had seen, there is an interneuron here. There was an impulse here, there is an interneuron. This interneuron forms a synapse with this alpha motor neuron, and it causes the inhibition directly of the postsynaptic cell. Such type of inhibition is termed as postsynaptic inhibition. Am I clear to everyone here? Do you understand what do I mean by postsynaptic inhibition? A presynaptic neuron inhibiting directly the postsynaptic neuron, we call it as postsynaptic inhibition. Then what is presynaptic inhibition? The story is in such a way, okay, the story is such that this was my presynaptic neuron and this was my postsynaptic neuron. Maybe I was talking to my pre and post in a excitatory manner, okay? But somebody came who didn't like me to talk to this person. And this person came and inhibited my activity. Such type of inhibition are called as presynaptic inhibition. Okay. So I hope you have understood what is postsynaptic inhibition. Direct inhibition of the pre over the post is called as postsynaptic inhibition. Presynaptic inhibition is something like indirect inhibition, means inhibition of the presynaptic neuron, not of the postsynaptic neuron. Rather, the presynaptic neuron is called as presynaptic inhibition. Then comes the negative feedback inhibition. What is this negative feedback inhibition? So I had told you, that we have inhibitory interneurons or Renshaw cells. Somebody was asking the other day, right? So there I had shown this diagram where a motor neuron, if stimulated, it is taking the information to the muscle end properly. In the middle, it will give a collateral. This is a collateral branch of this main neuron. This collateral stimulates an inhibitory interneuron. Somebody there in the middle who is inhibitory interneuron. Once this inhibitory interneuron is stimulated, it is going to inhibit the same neuron which was excited before and can also inhibit the neighboring of it. Such type of inhibition where you get a feedback to yourself is what is called as negative feedback inhibition. So such inhibition, these interneurons were first discovered by Renshaw. So they are called as Renshaw cell. And this type of inhibition, we call it as recurrent inhibition, feedback inhibition, or Renshaw cell inhibition. Okay. So such type of inhibitions are also called as Renshaw cell inhibition, feedback inhibition, or what you call as recurrent inhibition. Okay. So the branch itself, a collateral, stimulates an inhibitory interneuron, which is going to inhibit the motor neuron. Okay. Then comes the feed forward inhibition. So what is this feed forward inhibition? For this, I may have to draw you a diagram. Now, in case of cerebellar cortex, what it is seen is there is a cell called as Purkinje cells. Okay. These Purkinje cells, these are the cells which is going to stimulate what you call as another cell who are called as granule cells. Okay. Granule cells in turn are going to inhibit basket cells. This was my Purkinje cell, which has stimulated the granule cells. Granule cells are inhibiting my basket cell. This Purkinje probably has a stimulatory connection with basket cell, but we don't have to worry about this. What we are telling about is feed forward inhibition. So Purkinje gave to granule, said, okay, get stimulated, but granule went and inhibited to basket. Whereas Purkinje by itself, if it has to go to basket, will be stimulatory in nature. Such type of connection which is present in cerebellum are called as feed forward inhibition. Okay. So we are over with this type of, is it clear to everyone?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So what are the types of inhibition? We'll just try to revise the properties however we have learned. Okay. So we go back again. So we have finished one way. We finished one-way conduction. We finished synaptic delay. We went to summation where we had the temporal summation and the spatial summation. Then we went to occlusion. We knew what occlusion means. We went to subliminal fringe effect, convergence, divergence, fatigue. Let me go to effect of acidosis and hypoxia. You have to understand that synapses are reactive to acidosis, reactive to state of hypoxia. So your synaptic transmission will be stopped or delayed if your synapses are exposed to acidosis or hypoxia. Hypoxia means a decrease in O2 level. You know, there are different types of hypoxia. If you go to a high altitude where the atmospheric pressure itself is less, you find that there is decrease in oxygen level, and so you find such type of hypoxia happening at the high altitude, and we call it as hypoxia levels. So synapses, that's why people have said as the O2 level went on down, people went to a state of confusion. I don't know if you have heard of this or not, or if you have experienced this in your house or not. People, as soon as their O2 level was falling from 80, 70, 50, 40, other than, you know, difficulty in breathing, there was some mental disturbance also which were coming into as a feature. They were confused, they were not able to process. So that means because of this effect onto the synapses. Am I clear here? Then something called as after discharge. What do you mean by after discharge?
No, no, something after the exercises is.
After the stimulus is no longer present and you still have the effect there, isn't it? Hangover, you can say that is an example of after discharge. When the stimulus is no longer there and still you find this, you know, some amount of activity happening here. Now, in case of synapses, suppose there were impulses coming up and I had, you know, lot of activity happening at the postsynapse. Then what do? We stop this. There was a stoppage of it. You have stopped it. Still we find that there are small amount of, you know, impulses coming, although not of this high level, but of a smaller level. So this probably is the nature of after discharge in synapses. Why do you think is happening like this? What do you think is the reason for this after discharge in synapses? If you think
There would have been excessive production of the neurotransmitters.
no. When you kept on stimulating, you were releasing the neurotransmitters, right? Right? When you were releasing the neurotransmitters, they were taking time to get degraded. Do you agree or not? They were
Yes,
taking
and
time.
all of them were not degraded. Some of them were
Probably
still
did not, all of them did not degrade. Some of them were still there, and those who ever remained were responsible for some amount. So that is called as after discharge. What do you understand by reverberation? Maybe very close to after discharge. How do you say reverberation? What is the meaning of reverberation? Can anybody tell me? No idea?
Synaptic neurons that
No,
are
literal
not.
meaning of reverberation, not like that.
So that's
There's a vibration
uh,
from one source which is spreading to surrounding objects
Yes,
as well.
yes. So there is reverberation at the synapses. So it's only not one-to-one talking. It's like loudspeaker. You know? It's like you have sent the information not to yourself alone, but nearby people also. You're reverberating. So you're so vibrant, they say, right? Because of you, others also get stimulated. So probably there is some amount of that reverberation occurring near to the synapses, affecting the other synapses also or other neurons also.